A desperate situation. In the vast, dark expanse of space, the Galactic Council found itself facing a crisis like never before. The Council, a powerful alliance of various alien species, was known for its strength and unity. But now they were struggling. The enemy they faced was relentless, their ships faster, their weapons stronger. Battle after battle, the Council's fleets were being pushed back, their losses mounting. The Council's headquarters, located on a massive space station orbiting a distant star, was filled with tension. The leaders of the different species gathered in the central chamber, a room filled with holographic maps and blinking lights. Each leader had the same worried expression. They had tried every strategy, used every weapon, but nothing had worked. The enemy was always one step ahead. In one corner of the room, the human ambassador, Admiral Jane Foster, stood quietly. She listened as the others argued, their voices growing louder and more desperate. The humans were new to the Council, having only joined a few years ago. They were still seen as the least advanced of the member species, their technology considered outdated compared to the others. "We're running out of options," one of the alien leaders, a tall, blue-skinned creature with glowing eyes, said. "If we don't find a way to stop them, our entire fleet will be destroyed within weeks." Another leader, a small, insect-like being with shimmering wings, nodded. "Our ships are no match for theirs. They're too fast, too strong. We need something new, something they won't expect." Admiral Foster decided it was time to speak up. "We might have something," she said, her voice calm but firm. The other leaders turned to look at her, some with interest, others with skepticism. "What could you possibly have that we don't?" the blue-skinned leader asked, his tone dismissive. Foster didn't flinch. "We've been working on a new kind of warship," she explained. "It's unconventional, but it might be exactly what we need to turn the tide of this war." The room fell silent as the leaders exchanged glances. "Unconventional?" the insect-like leader repeated. "What do you mean?" Foster took a deep breath. "The ship is called the Beast. It doesn't look like any warship you've seen before. It's big, it's ugly, and it's built from parts that don't seem to fit together. But it's powerful. It's designed to confuse and overwhelm the enemy. We believe it can do what no other ship has been able to." There was a long pause. The idea of using a ship that sounded like a junkyard cobbled together didn't sit well with many of the leaders. But they were desperate, and desperation often led to considering options that would have been unthinkable under normal circumstances. "Show us this." "Beast," the blue-skinned leader finally said. Foster nodded. "We can arrange a demonstration. But I'll warn you now, it's not what you're expecting. It's a gamble, but one that might just pay off." As the meeting ended, the alien leaders left the chamber, their thoughts swirling with doubt and curiosity. Admiral Foster stayed behind, her mind focused on the days ahead. She knew the stakes were high and failure was not an option. Humanity's reputation in the Council was on the line, and more importantly, the future of the entire galaxy. Back on Earth, in a hidden facility deep underground, human engineers were putting the finishing touches on the Beast. The ship was unlike anything they had ever built before. It was massive, with a hull that seemed to be made of random pieces of metal, some smooth, others jagged. The weapons were a mix of old and new technology, and the engines were designed to move in ways that would confuse any tracking system. As the final bolts were tightened and the systems were powered up, the chief engineer, a grizzled old man named Marcus Lee, stepped back to admire their work. "It's not pretty," he muttered, "but it'll get the job done." He knew that soon. The Beast would be launched into space, its first mission critical to the survival of the Council. And as he looked at the strange, monstrous ship, he couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and anxiety. The fate of humanity, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested on this bizarre creation. The countdown to launch had begun. The Galactic Council's desperation had given birth to something new, something that could change the course of the war. But whether the Beast would be humanity's greatest triumph or its biggest failure remained to be seen. And so, in the silence of space, the Beast awaited its moment to unleash chaos upon an unsuspecting enemy. The unveiling of the Beast. The day had finally arrived. In the heart of the Galactic Council's most secure space station, representatives from every major species gathered in the Grand Observation Hall. The room was enormous, its walls lined with holographic displays and massive windows that looked out into the endless blackness of space. Today, they would witness something unprecedented, the unveiling of humanity's newest warship, a vessel known only as the Beast. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and doubt. The alien leaders, who had fought countless battles over the years, found it hard to believe that the humans, with their relatively simple technology, could create something that would turn the tide of the war. Still, they were curious. Humanity had been secretive about this project, and secrets always piqued the interest of the Council. Admiral Jane Foster stood at the front of the room, her face calm but her mind racing. She knew how much was riding on this moment. The other species were watching closely, ready to judge whether humanity could be a real asset in this war, or if they were just a burden. "Thank you all for coming," Foster began, her voice steady. "What you're about to see is the result of years of hard work and innovation. We call it the Beast. It's not like anything you've seen before, and I'll warn you now, it's unconventional. But we believe it will be the key to our victory." She nodded to a technician standing by the control panel. The lights in the room dimmed, and the massive windows began to display an image of the shipyards in orbit around a distant planet. Slowly, the ship emerged from the shadows, and gasps filled the room. The Beast was colossal, far larger than any of the Council's warships. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals, some shiny and smooth, others rough and jagged. The ship looked as if it had been cobbled together from the wreckage of 1,000 battles. Its shape was irregular, with no clear front or back, and strange protrusions jutted out at odd angles. "What is this?" One of the alien leaders, a tall, reptilian being with scales that shimmered in the dim light, asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "Is this supposed to be a warship? It looks like a pile of junk." Foster remained calm, though she could feel the tension in the room. "I understand your concerns," she replied, "but the Beast's appearance is deceptive. Every part of it has a purpose. The irregular shape, the mixed materials, these are all part of its design. The ship is meant to confuse the enemy, to make it difficult for them to target and predict its movements." The alien leaders murmured among themselves, still unconvinced. Another leader, a small insect-like creature with large, multifaceted eyes, buzzed forward. "And what about its weapons? What could this thing possibly have that we don't?" Foster smiled slightly. "The Beast is equipped with a combination of conventional and experimental weaponry. Some of it is based on older technology that we've modified to be more effective against modern shields and armor. Other systems are entirely new, developed in secret by our best scientists. I can't go into all the details, but I can assure you, it's more than capable of taking on any fleet." Despite her words, skepticism lingered in the air. The Council had seen many ships, many weapons, and they knew that looks could be deceiving. But there was something about the Beast, something in the way it defied all known principles of design, that made them uneasy. As the discussion continued, the ship began a slow rotation, revealing more of its odd features. One side bristled with weaponry, cannons, missile launchers, and strange devices that no one could identify. The other side seemed almost defenseless, with only a few small guns and some strange-looking panels. "Why is one side so heavily armed and the other so bare?" the reptilian leader asked, narrowing his eyes. "The Beast isn't meant to fight like a traditional ship," Foster explained. "It's designed for asymmetrical warfare. It doesn't need to face its enemy head-on. Instead, it can strike from unexpected angles, using its unusual shape and unpredictable movements to its advantage. The lighter side is equipped with advanced shielding and stealth technology, allowing it to slip past enemy defenses and hit them where they least expect it." There was a long pause as the alien leaders absorbed this information. They had never seen a ship designed like this, and the concept of asymmetrical warfare was new to many of them. But war was full of surprises, and sometimes the most unconventional ideas were the ones that worked best. Finally, the insect-like leader spoke again, his voice thoughtful. "It's certainly different," he admitted. "But will it work? We need results, not just theories." "You'll see soon enough," Foster replied confidently. "The Beast's first mission is already planned. It will lead a—" The leaders exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of doubt and hope. They had no choice but to trust the humans, at least for now. The enemy was growing stronger by the day, and they needed something, anything, that could turn the tide. As the meeting ended and the leaders filed out of the room, Foster stayed behind, looking out at the image of the Beast on the screen. She knew the ship was a gamble, but it was a gamble they had to take. The enemy was unlike any they had faced before, and conventional tactics had failed time and time again. If the Beast could do what it was designed to do, it might just give the Council the edge they needed, and if it didn't, well, that was a thought she couldn't afford to dwell on. Not when the fate of the galaxy was at stake. For now, all she could do was wait and hope that the Beast lived up to its name. First mission, Trial by Fire. The Beast floated silently in the darkness of space, its irregular shape casting strange shadows against the distant stars. It was the moment of truth. The Galactic Council had placed its hopes on this strange human warship, but no one knew if it would succeed. The ship had been designed for one purpose: to confuse and destroy the enemy in ways they could never predict. Now it was time to see if the Beast could live up to its name. Inside the command center of the Beast, Captain Marcus Lee stood at the helm. He was a seasoned officer, known for his cool head in the heat of battle. But even he felt the weight of the mission ahead. This wasn't just another battle, it was a test. A test of human ingenuity, and a test of whether the Beast was the weapon they needed to win the war. "Status report," Captain Lee ordered, his voice steady. "Shields at full power. Weapon systems online," came the reply from Lieutenant Sarah Patel, the ship's weapons officer. "All systems are green." "Good," Lee nodded. "We're approaching the target. Everyone stay sharp. We're entering the fire." Ahead of them was the enemy's forward base, a massive structure bristling with guns and surrounded by a fleet of warships. The base was one of the enemy's main supply hubs, critical to their war effort. Destroying it would be a major blow, but it wouldn't be easy. The enemy was well prepared, and they had never faced anything like the Beast before. As the Beast moved closer, the enemy fleet detected it. Alarms blared, and the enemy ships turned to face the approaching threat. They had been expecting a traditional attack, something they could easily counter. But what they saw on their scanners didn't make sense. The Beast's strange shape and unpredictable movements confused their targeting systems. The ship didn't follow any known patterns, making it hard to lock onto. "The enemy is scrambling their fighters," Lieutenant Patel reported. "They're trying to surround us. Let them come," Captain Lee said calmly. "Prepare to engage." The enemy fighters swarmed toward the Beast, their weapons ready to unleash a deadly barrage. But as they closed in, the Beast suddenly shifted direction, its irregular shape allowing it to move in ways that no normal ship could. The enemy pilots were caught off guard, their attacks missing their mark as the Beast darted through space with unexpected agility. "Fire at will," Captain Lee commanded. The Beast's weapons roared to life. Cannons, missiles, and energy beams erupted from the ship, hitting the enemy fighters with deadly precision. The fighters, unable to keep up with the Beast's erratic movements, were quickly torn apart. Explosions lit up the dark void as ship after ship was destroyed. The enemy fleet, realizing their fighters were no match, began to advance with their larger warships. These were heavily armored and armed with powerful weapons, designed to take down anything in their path. But the Beast was not an ordinary ship. As the enemy warships closed in, the Beast unleashed its secret weapon. "Activate the disruptor field," Captain Lee ordered. A low hum filled the ship as the disruptor field came online. This was one of the experimental technologies that had been integrated into the Beast. It sent out a pulse of energy that interfered with the enemy ship's systems, causing their weapons to malfunction and their shields to flicker. The enemy fleet was in chaos. Their commanders couldn't understand how a single ship was causing so much damage. They had never faced anything like this before, and their tactics, which had worked so well against the Galactic Council's other ships, were useless against the Beast. Inside the command center, The crew of the Beast watched the battle unfold with a mix of excitement and relief. Their strange, monstrous ship was performing better than anyone had expected. But Captain Lee knew the battle wasn't over yet. "Target the base," he ordered. "Let's finish this." The Beast turned its attention to the enemy's forward base. The base's defenses were strong, but they had been designed to repel conventional attacks. The Beast's unique design allowed it to approach from unexpected angles, avoiding the heaviest fire and exploiting weak points in the base's structure. As the Beast drew closer, it unleashed its full firepower. Missiles streaked toward the base, hitting key targets and causing massive explosions. The base's shields, already weakened by the disruptor field, began to fail. Fires raged across the structure as it started to break apart. Finally, with a deafening roar, the base's central reactor went critical. The resulting explosion was enormous, a blinding flash of light that could be seen from orbit. The enemy fleet, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat. "We did it," Lieutenant Patel said, her voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." Captain Lee allowed himself a small smile. "Mission accomplished," he said. "Let's head back. The Council will want to hear about this." As the Beast turned away from the wreckage of the enemy base, the crew couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. They had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Beast had passed its first test, and in doing so, had given the Galactic Council a new hope. The war was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, the future didn't seem so bleak. The Beast had emerged from its trial by fire victorious, and the galaxy would never be the same again. A New Hope. News of the Beast's success spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. In the days following the mission, the atmosphere across the Council's vast network of stations and outposts shifted from despair to cautious optimism. The war was still raging, but for the first time in months there was a glimmer of hope, a new belief that victory might be possible after all. At the Galactic Council headquarters, the Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from every member species. Holographic displays showed the recent battle, highlighting the destruction of the enemy's forward base and the retreat of their fleet. The Council leaders, who had been skeptical of humanity's capabilities, were now forced to reconsider their opinions. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Jane Foster, representing humanity. She had been invited to address the Council, a rare honor, especially for a species that had only recently joined. The other leaders watched her closely, their expressions a mix of respect and curiosity. "Admiral Foster," began the Council's senior member, a tall, silver-skinned alien with a regal bearing, "your ship, the Beast, has proven to be a formidable weapon. Its success in the recent mission has given us new hope. We would like to hear more about your plans for this ship and how you believe it can contribute to the war effort." Foster nodded, her face calm but determined. "Thank you," she began. "The Beast was designed to be an unconventional weapon, and its first mission has shown that sometimes thinking outside the box is exactly what we need. But the Beast is not just a one-time solution. We believe it can be the spearhead of a new strategy, one that will allow us to take the fight to the enemy in ways they can't predict." The Council members leaned in, listening intently. Foster continued, "The enemy is powerful, yes, but they rely heavily on their ability to anticipate and counter our moves. The Beast's design confuses their sensors, disrupts their communications, and makes it difficult for them to coordinate their attacks. We believe that by using the Beast in combination with other, more traditional ships, we can create a new kind of fleet, one that can strike hard and fast, from angles the enemy won't expect." There was a murmur of approval among the Council members. They had all seen the effectiveness of the Beast's irregular tactics, and many were beginning to see the potential for a broader strategy based on this approach. One of the Council leaders, a short, stocky alien with a face full of wrinkles, spoke up. "Admiral, you have shown us what the Beast can do, but what about the rest of your fleet? How do you plan to integrate this new strategy with our existing forces?" Foster had anticipated this question. "We're already working on it," she replied. "The Beast is a prototype, but we're developing more ships based on the same principles. These ships will be smaller, faster, and designed to work in concert with the beast, creating a multi-layered offensive that will keep the enemy off balance. She paused, letting her words sink in. We're also sharing the technology behind the beast with our allies. By working together, we can modify your ships to incorporate some of these same features: disruptor fields, stealth systems, and irregular movement patterns. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But if we can adapt our entire fleet to this new way of fighting, we can turn the tide of this war. The room was silent for a moment as the council members considered her proposal. They had all seen the power of the enemy and knew how difficult it would be to change the course of the conflict. But there was something about Foster's confidence, something about the way the beast had shattered the enemy's defenses, that made them believe it might be possible. Finally, the senior member of the council spoke again. Admiral Foster, you have given us much to think about. The Galactic Council is prepared to support your efforts. We will begin integrating your technology into our ships, and we will coordinate with your fleet to develop this new strategy. The enemy has underestimated us before, but with this new approach, we will show them that the Galactic Council is not so easily defeated. Foster nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. This was the breakthrough humanity had needed. The chance to prove their worth not just as members of the Council, but as leaders in the fight for survival. Thank you, she said. Together, we can win this war. As the meeting concluded, the council members began to disperse, returning to their home worlds to relay the news. There was a renewed sense of purpose among them, a feeling that perhaps the tide was finally turning in their favor. Back on Earth, in the secret shipyards where the beast had been built, engineers and scientists were already hard at work on the next generation of warships. The success of the beast had inspired them, and they were determined to push the boundaries even further. New designs, new weapons, and new strategies were being developed at a feverish pace, all with the goal of outsmarting and overpowering the enemy. In the months that followed, the beast led several more missions, each one more daring than the last. The enemy, caught off guard by the unpredictable tactics, began to suffer significant losses. For the first time in a long while, the Galactic Council's forces were gaining ground, pushing the enemy back toward their own territory. On the front lines, soldiers and pilots from every species fought with renewed vigor. They had seen what the beast could do, and they believed that victory was within reach. The war was far from over, but the fear that had gripped the galaxy was slowly being replaced by something much stronger: hope. And at the heart of it all was the beast, the bizarre warship that had defied expectations and changed the course of the war. As it flew into battle, its irregular shape and strange movements striking fear into the hearts of the enemy, it became a symbol of what the Galactic Council could achieve when they stood together. It was proof that even in the darkest of times, there was always a way forward. A new hope had been born, and with it, the promise of a brighter future for the entire galaxy. The enemy's response. The beast had been a game-changer, but the enemy was not one to be easily deterred. The sudden surge of hope among the Galactic Council's forces was met with a swift and calculated response from the enemy. They were a formidable foe, known for their ruthless efficiency and ability to adapt quickly. As their fleets retreated and their supply lines were disrupted, the enemy began to regroup and strategize. On the edge of enemy territory, a massive command ship floated in the cold void of space. Its dark hull was sleek and menacing, equipped with advanced sensors and communication arrays. Inside, the ship's command center was abuzz with activity. Alien officers and strategists worked around the clock, analyzing data and formulating their next move. At the center of this bustling command center was General Zarek, the enemy's top military leader. Zarek was a tall, imposing figure with sharp, angular features and an air of cold authority. He was known for his tactical genius and his ability to turn even the direst situations to his advantage. The recent success of the beast had caught his attention, and he was determined not to let it shift the balance of power. "Report!" Zarek's voice cut through the noise of the command center. A subordinate officer, a slender alien with green-tinted skin, stepped forward. General Zarek, the recent battles have shown that the enemy has developed a new type of warship. They call it the Beast. It has been causing significant disruptions to our operations. Zarek's eyes narrowed as he listened. I've heard of this ship. It's supposed to be unconventional, unpredictable. How effective has it been? It has been very effective, General, the officer admitted. It has outmaneuvered and outgunned several of our fleets, and it's disrupting our supply lines. Our forces are struggling to deal with it. Zarek's face hardened. And what are our options? Another officer, a heavily armored alien with a deep voice, stepped forward. We can't ignore it. If the Beast continues to lead the enemy's attacks, it could turn the tide of the war. We need to neutralize it. Zarek nodded. Agreed. But we can't afford to launch a direct assault without knowing more about this ship's capabilities. I want a detailed analysis of the Beast. Every piece of technology, every weapon, every tactic it uses. Leave no stone unturned. The officers quickly set to work, gathering information and analyzing every bit of data they could find. The enemy's intelligence network was vast and efficient, but the Beast was unlike anything they had encountered before. It was built from a mix of old and new technologies, and its irregular design made it difficult to analyze. Hours turned into days as the enemy's command center worked tirelessly. Finally, a comprehensive report was ready. Zarek reviewed it with a critical eye, noting every strength and weakness of the Beast. The report confirmed that while the Beast was indeed an innovative and powerful ship, it was not invulnerable. There were vulnerabilities that could be exploited with the right strategy. Very well, Zarek said, handing the report to his officers. We will develop a plan to counter this new threat. We will adapt our tactics and refine our technology. The Beast may have surprised us, but it will not be the end of us. We will show the Galactic Council that we are not to be underestimated. The enemy's response began with a series of coordinated strikes against the Council's supply lines and outlying bases. The enemy deployed new specialized warships designed to counter the Beast's unique capabilities. These ships were equipped with advanced tracking systems and jamming technology intended to neutralize the disruptor fields that the Beast used to its advantage. In response, Admiral Jane Foster and her team on the Beast were constantly on high alert. They had expected the enemy to retaliate, but the scale and precision of their new tactics were impressive. The Beast's crew had to stay sharp, adapting their strategies on the fly to keep up with the enemy's innovations. One night, as the Beast was docked at a secure space station for repairs, the alarms suddenly blared. The enemy had launched a surprise attack, targeting the very facility where the Beast was being serviced. The station's defenses were caught off guard, and enemy ships began to breach the perimeter. Prepare for immediate launch. Captain Marcus Lee barked as he and his crew scrambled to their positions. We need to get the Beast out of here before they destroy everything. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, and within minutes, the Beast was back in space, its engines roaring to life as it powered away from the burning space station. The enemy ships pursued, their new tactics evident as they coordinated their attacks with deadly precision. Enemy ships are closing in, Lieutenant Sarah Patel reported, her fingers flying over the control panel. They're using advanced tracking systems to keep us in their sights. Switch to evasive maneuvers, Captain Lee ordered. We need to buy time and find a way to counter their new technology. The Beast darted and weaved through space, its irregular shape making it difficult for the enemy to land a solid hit. The crew was pushed to their limits as they fought to stay one step ahead of their pursuers. The enemy ships were relentless, but the Beast's unique design and its crew's skill allowed them to hold their own. After a grueling chase, the Beast managed to escape into a nebula, where the dense gas clouds provided some cover from the enemy's sensors. The crew took a moment to catch their breath, but they knew this was just the beginning. The enemy's response had been swift and effective, and the conflict was. Get the repairs done as quickly as possible, Captain Lee instructed. We need to be ready for whatever they throw at us next. As the Beast drifted within the safety of the nebula, Admiral Foster received an update from the Galactic Council. The enemy's new tactics had caused setbacks, but the Council was determined to adapt and fight back. New plans were being developed, and additional resources were being allocated to support the Beast and its allies. The war had reached a new phase, with both sides adjusting to the evolving battlefield. The beast had proven its worth, but it was clear that the enemy was a formidable opponent. The conflict was far from over, and every victory and setback was part of a larger struggle for control of the galaxy. For now, the beast and its crew prepared for the next challenge, knowing that their success would depend on their ability to adapt and overcome the enemy's relentless response. The stakes had never been higher, but the determination and ingenuity of the Galactic Council's forces were equally matched by their enemies. And so, as the stars shone brightly outside the nebula, the war continued, a battle of wits, strategy, and survival in the vast expanse of space. The final stand. The galaxy was a chessboard of shifting alliances and tactical maneuvers. After the recent battles, both sides were worn thin, but neither was ready to surrender. The enemy had proven their capability to adapt, and the beast had demonstrated its formidable power. The war had reached a critical juncture, and both sides knew that the next major confrontation could determine the outcome. On board the beast, the atmosphere was tense. Captain Marcus Lee and his crew were preparing for what could be the decisive battle of the war. The Galactic Council had identified a key enemy stronghold, an enormous space station located in a strategic region of the galaxy. This station was the heart of the enemy's command and control operations. Destroying it would cripple their ability to coordinate attacks and supply their forces. The beast was chosen for this crucial mission. "All right, team, listen up," Captain Lee began as the crew gathered in the command center. "This is it. We're going to strike at the heart of the enemy's operations. We know they'll be ready for us, and we expect heavy resistance. But if we can take down that station, we'll turn the tide of this war." Lieutenant Sarah Patel, the ship's weapons officer, nodded with determination. "We've been through tough fights before, but this one is different. The enemy will have every defense they can muster. We need to be ready for anything." The beast was loaded with advanced weaponry and equipped with the latest upgrades, including modifications designed to counter the enemy's new tactics. The crew was ready, but nerves were taut. The upcoming battle would be unlike any they had faced before. As the beast approached the enemy stronghold, the space around it was a chaotic sea of activity. The enemy's defense systems were on high alert, and their fleet was assembled in a defensive formation around the station. Massive turrets and energy shields glowed with readiness, and the space station itself bristled with weapons and defensive arrays. "Captain, we're being detected," reported Lieutenant Patel. "The enemy's sensors are picking us up. Engage evasive maneuvers," Captain Lee ordered. "We need to disrupt their targeting systems before we engage." The beast maneuvered with its characteristic unpredictability, darting and weaving through space to avoid enemy fire. The enemy ships tried to track it, but the ship's erratic movements and the disruptor field made targeting difficult. As they approached the station, the enemy fleet began to close in, determined to protect their stronghold. "Enemy fighters are launching," said Patel. "They're coming right at us. Prepare for battle," Captain Lee commanded. "Engage the fighters and clear a path to the station." The beast's weapons roared to life. Missiles and energy beams shot out, tearing through the enemy fighters that swarmed around them. The small, agile ships were quickly overwhelmed by the beast's firepower. The crew worked in perfect harmony, their skills honed by countless battles. But the real challenge was still ahead. "Captain, the station's defenses are holding strong," Patel reported. "We're going to need to find a way to breach them." "Activate the breach protocols," Captain Lee said. "Deploy the EMP drones." The beast released a swarm of EMP drones which sped toward the space station. They detonated in a series of pulses, sending shockwaves of electromagnetic energy through the station's systems. The station's shields flickered and weakened, creating openings in its defenses. The beast charged forward, aiming directly at the weakened shield points. As they closed in, the station's turrets focused their fire on them, trying to push them back. The beast swerved and dodged, using its unpredictable movements to its advantage. The crew worked tirelessly, their every move synchronized to keep the ship in motion and its weapons on target. "We're through the shields," Patel shouted. "Prepare to target the main reactor." The beast's cannons focused on the space station's central reactor, the heart of its power and control systems. The enemy responded with a furious barrage, but the beast's advanced countermeasures and the skill of its crew kept them in the fight. The station's defenses were crumbling, and the reactor was now within their sights. "Fire everything we've got!" Captain Lee commanded. The beast unleashed its full arsenal, pouring a concentrated barrage of missiles, lasers, and energy beams into the reactor. The station's internal systems struggled to cope with the onslaught. Explosions erupted within the station as its defenses collapsed under the pressure. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the space station. The reactor had gone critical, sending a shockwave through the entire structure. The space station began to disintegrate, its once imposing silhouette breaking apart as fires raged across its surface. "Captain, the station is falling apart," Patel reported. "We need to get out of here. Fall back to a safe distance," Captain Lee ordered. "We've done what we came here to do." The beast retreated from the exploding station, moving quickly away from the destruction. The enemy fleet, now leaderless and disorganized, began to fall back. The decisive strike had achieved its goal. The heart of the enemy's command was shattered, and the balance of power had shifted. As the beast moved to a safe distance, the crew took a moment to breathe. They had completed their mission, but the war was far from over. The destruction of the space station was a major blow to the enemy, but the fight would continue. The Galactic Council's forces would need to capitalize on this victory and push forward. Captain Lee and his crew looked out at the remnants of the enemy stronghold, their faces reflecting a mixture of relief and determination. They had faced immense challenges and come out victorious, but they knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. The beast had proven itself as a powerful force, but it was part of a larger struggle. The final stand was a critical chapter in the war, but the outcome would depend on how the Council and its allies used this victory to their advantage. As the stars shone brightly in the distance, the beast prepared for the next phase of the battle. The galaxy's fate hung in the balance, and every victory and setback would shape the future. The crew of the beast stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, their resolve stronger than ever. A new era. The destruction of the enemy's space station was a turning point in the war. The Galactic Council's forces had gained a crucial advantage, and the balance of power had shifted. As the remnants of the once mighty enemy stronghold drifted through space, the galaxy began to sense a change, a glimmer of hope that a new era might be on the horizon. On board the Beast, the mood was one of cautious optimism. Captain Marcus Lee and his crew had just returned from their mission, their faces reflecting the exhaustion of battle, but also the satisfaction of a job well done. They had achieved what many thought was impossible, but they knew the war was far from over. The Beast docked at a newly established forward base, a bustling hub of activity where scientists, engineers, and military personnel worked together to prepare for the next phase of the conflict. The base was located on the edge of a vibrant nebula, providing both strategic advantage and a breathtaking view of the swirling colors in space. Admiral Jane Foster awaited the Beast's return. She had been coordinating with the Galactic Council, rallying allies, and planning the next steps in their campaign. As Captain Lee and his crew disembarked, Foster greeted them with a smile that showed both relief and pride. "Welcome back, Captain," she said, shaking hands with Lee. "You and your crew did an incredible job. The destruction of that space station has given us a significant advantage." "Thank you, Admiral," Lee replied. "It wasn't easy, but we were determined to make it count." Foster led them to a briefing room where council representatives and military leaders had gathered. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the aftermath of the battle and the new strategic plans being developed. "Everyone, this is Captain Marcus Lee and the crew of the Beast," Foster introduced. "They played a pivotal role in our recent success." The room erupted in applause. The crew members exchanged smiles and nods, appreciating the recognition. The mood was high, but everyone knew that there was still much work to be done. "The destruction of the space station has significantly weakened the enemy's command structure," Foster continued. "But we must seize this moment and push forward. We have a chance to end this war and secure a lasting peace." The council representatives nodded in agreement. They began discussing new strategies, focusing on how to use their newfound advantage effectively. There were plans to launch coordinated attacks on remaining enemy positions, disrupt supply lines, and liberate occupied territories. "We need to build on this victory," said one of the council members, a tall alien with a deep voice. "The enemy is still a threat, and they will try to regroup and retaliate. We must be ready," Foster addressed the group. "Our next steps will involve reinforcing our alliances, securing key locations, and continuing to innovate with new technologies and strategies. We've proven that we can win, but we must remain vigilant and adaptable." The room buzzed with activity as leaders and strategists collaborated on the next phase of the campaign. The Galactic Council's forces were united and determined, their spirits lifted by the recent victory. Meanwhile, the Beast's crew took some much-needed rest. They were celebrated as heroes, but they knew that their role in the war was far from over. They spent their time preparing for the next mission, training, and ensuring that their ship remained in top condition. One evening, as the crew gathered in the mess hall, Captain Lee and Lieutenant Patel discussed their recent experiences. "We really turned the tide with that attack," Patel said, sipping her drink. "But the fight isn't over yet. We need to stay sharp and keep pushing forward." "Absolutely," Lee agreed. "We've shown what humanity can do. But there's still a lot of work ahead. The next battles will be crucial." The crew's camaraderie and determination were palpable. They were more than just a team. They were a symbol of hope and resilience. Their success had inspired others, and their story was becoming a beacon of what could be achieved through courage and innovation. As the days passed, the Galactic Council and their allies began to see tangible results from their efforts. Enemy positions were falling, and liberated worlds were celebrating their newfound freedom. The Beast's reputation as a game-changing asset grew, and its crew became legends in their own right. The war continued, but the tide had definitively turned. The Galactic Council's forces, now bolstered by the new strategies and technologies developed in the wake of the Beast's success, were making steady progress. The once bleak outlook had given way to a sense of optimism and purpose. Admiral Foster, standing on the bridge of the Beast during a routine patrol, looked out at the stars. The nebula's vibrant colors painted the space around them, a reminder of the beauty and wonder of the galaxy they were fighting to protect. "This is just the beginning," she said to Captain Lee, who stood beside her. "We've shown that we can win, but now we need to secure a lasting peace."